years of life to have a problem? Give Extendivite 1 year to fix the problem. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or visit us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Friday, July 12th, 2019. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. Really, thank goodness it's Friday. And looking forward to the weekend here. And I'm going to start by apologizing to our audience a little bit up front here. As you know, we're packing for this move to Indiana, and I managed to throw my back out, and I'm in a lot of pain today, so I may not be on my sharpest tack today, but we'll do our best to get through the program. And of course, the lovely Lady Claire will be joining us in hour number 3. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. That's 800-313-9443. Sam is in our control room, ready to answer the phone and put you on the air with your comments, questions, and opinions. Again, for everybody down by Louisiana and Mississippi, they're looking at 25 inches of rain is forecast. Tropical Storm Barry is strengthening. They're expecting it to hit a Category 1 hurricane by tomorrow. And if you are in that part of the country and you are told to evacuate, please do so. Don't take this one for granted. I know the tendency for a lot of people, because I see it out here in Hawaii, it's just, it's not going to be a big deal. And, people get hurt that way. So please take this one seriously and take all due precautions to keep yourselves and your families safe, because this is serious, serious stuff. All right, getting on into the news here. The good news, I think it's good news, is Alex Acosta has now resigned as Secretary of Labor because of his handling of the plea agreement in the Epstein case. Apparently, the pressure was just building and building. And he really was not able to justify why he did what he did. Now, we know that when he was talking with the Trump transition team, he claimed that Epstein was intelligence. Didn't say who, but he was told to back off, which is exactly what he did. And so Acosta is now out. They're looking for a new Secretary of Labor, somebody who hopefully will restore the funding for the child sex trafficking enforcement. So we'll see what's going to happen over there. But yeah, he should be out. The guy was a scumbag for letting Epstein go back in 2008 here. Meanwhile, at least a dozen new victims have come forward to claim they were sexually abused by Jeffrey Epstein. And now let's be honest here. This could be a feeding frenzy. And some of these young ladies may just be trying to take advantage of the situation to extort money or a moment of fame or something. We have to be very, very cautious, but apparently at least a dozen new victims have come forward. Meanwhile, Jeffrey Epstein is trying to convince a federal judge to allow him to await trial inside his $77 million Manhattan mansion, where he's accused of luring teenage girls into unwanted sex acts. So apparently following Epstein's arrest Saturday in New Jersey, 4 women have reached out to New York lawyer David Boies, and at least 10 other women have approached other lawyers who've represented dozens of Epstein's alleged victims in the past. Jack Scarola, a Palm Beach attorney, said at least 5 women, all of whom were minors at the time of their alleged encounters with Epstein, have reached out to either him or Fort Lauderdale lawyer Brad Edwards. So they're really starting to pile on there. All right, we're going to take a phone call here. Paul in New Jersey. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Michael. Yesterday, after I made my phone call concerning Jeffrey Epstein, you might remember I had brought up about the hot spots for sex tourism and also nations throughout the world with high incidence of child prostitution. And Joe from Tennessee called to criticize my call. And I just wanted to remind Joe from Tennessee, first of all, I didn't pull any of those facts from out of nowhere concerning the high incidence of child prostitution in Thailand. The Star UK, which is online, I did a DuckDuckGo search, linked when it comes to child prostitution and the frequency of it. It linked. It said number 1 in the world was Sri Lanka, number 2 was Thailand. So it's not like I'm making that up. Also, the Huffington Post had an article on sex tourism. And remember how I said that if some of these guys want to do prepubescent or young girls, they could go to the Dominican Republic, and lo and behold, in the Huffington Post, on their article about sex tourism, they said the Dominican Republic was number 1 for sex tourism, and Thailand number 2. And then you had Cambodia, the Netherlands, Spain, Brazil, and the Philippines. Lastly, and I'm just trying to move my case with links and articles from elsewhere. So just to substantiate that, I'm not making this up.
What is the case you're trying to prove?
Well, Joe from Tennessee had critiqued my call, saying that I got it all wrong about Thailand, and he hasn't been there. How does he know? How would he know about Thailand? Has he been there? And then he goes on and on, if you remember the call, talking about Czechoslovakia and the high incidence of sex tourism supposedly in the East Bloc. And for my searches on sex tourism throughout the world, Eastern Bloc nations weren't even on the list. And that I also would remind Joe from Tennessee that the nation of Czechoslovakia hasn't existed for 26 years, the Czech Republic separating from Slovakia in 1991. So if Joe from Tennessee is going to come out saying that he's such a manly, man of the world and knows about these things and has been to these countries in the world, I think Joe should get himself an almanac and check some of these statistics out that I had referred to yesterday. He might also learn that it's called the Czech Republic, not Czechoslovakia. That's 26 years ago when that happened. All right, Joe? And lastly,
I'll tell you, I'm not going to do the research on this stuff because I find the entire practice of child sexual abuse aberrant. From where I'm coming from, and maybe it's because I'm a frustrated father, to me, when you're dealing with a child that's 13 or 14 or 15 years old, is you nurture them, you care for them, you educate them, you teach them science, you teach them engineering, you basically prepare them to have a nice, successful, comfortable life. You don't rip their clothes off and do terrible things to them. And I really don't identify with those who do. I have no sympathy for them, and I don't particularly feel like understanding them.
Right, but there are online, like the article in the Ethical Post, and it has a list of top child sex tourism sites. Another link, just to prove my case that I didn't make this up. And number 1 from their website, it said Thailand. So my remarks about that, if these, child sex predators, people who frequent these nations often, like the Jeffrey Epsteins, anybody who goes there frequently would be suspect in my book.
Well, I think they ought to be tarred and feathered. That's my opinion. And again, it's because I'm a frustrated daddy. And but to me, I can't understand, an adult male wanting to have sex with such a young person. And I was very alarmed the other day. Apparently, there's a law they're getting ready to pass in California where if there is an adult male that has sex with an underage female, if the difference in their age is less than 10 years, they're not going to have to register on the sex offenders registry. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, it also goes for how the UN could work towards globally raising the age of consent, because that's something I also researched and found that many nations, like the Philippines, had a very low age of consent of 13.
Yes.
And so, I think there's an issue there too, because the medical reality is that you want young girls and ladies to postpone their first intercourse until they're older, because then if they happen to get pregnant, they give birth to a larger child, and then the outcomes for babies with higher birth rates,
yes,
the outcomes are much better and they're much healthier. And so that's part of the reason that we need to continue the Western-styled prohibitions to try to promote, a later age when it comes to girls for first intercourse. It's a medical issue.
Yeah, it's
And I think
it's definitely a medical issue. I mean, here in Hawaii, the age of consent is 16. And I remember when it was lowered to 16 from 18, there was a huge debate about that issue. And, there's a lot of people saying, well, they're physically maturing a lot earlier, probably because of all these hormones and everything that are pumped into chicken and beef products by the supermarkets. But it isn't just a question of their physical maturity. It's a question of their mental maturity. And again, I think children ought to be allowed to stay children just as long as they possibly can and not be forced into basically becoming adults too early.
Yeah. And in other medical cases, another reason to try to postpone first intercourse and actually try to live more chaste lifestyles is to promote more monogamy among women, is because of cancer of the cervix, which is
Yes.
linked to frequency of sexual partners. And so that's part of the reason why globally we should be, promoting campaigns, actually promoting monogamy, marriage, and frowning upon prostitution. And this should be a global campaign.
Okay, well, on the prostitution issue, if the woman is an adult and she has chosen this lifestyle, I don't have a problem with that. Okay, I do have a problem with young girls being lured into places like Epstein's Palace. They don't know what they're getting into. They get down there, they're trapped, and they wind up being coerced into this kind of behavior. That I have a problem with.
And there's also the element of poverty, that a lot of poor girls turn to prostitution historically to get themselves out of poverty. And that can be, those issues can be resolved. But yes, if you are going to have prostitution, you need to have medical oversight to,
Yes.
combat the spread of sexually transmitted diseases.
I would
That's been well
absolutely agree
established.
with that. I would agree with that. And unfortunately, here in the United States of America, we're seeing a lot of women of college age who are unable to pay their college bills or pay their student loans. They're being forced into prostitution.
And these are issues that can be resolved, I think, through the at least through governance and through law, and just promotion. Because in a sense, these are medical issues ultimately that come, and society as a whole is going to pay for the problems concerning this through medical bills and also dysfunctional families and dissolute lifestyles. Prostitution is one of these things where men might think it's funny or it's good or convenient for them, but I always ask any men who advocate for prostitution, and I always ask, so you wouldn't mind your daughter going into it? And usually once you bring that issue up and drive it home like that, they're not so eager to promote or actually tolerate prostitution. And so to me, it's not really I've never frequented or gone to it, but when I was in Holland, I walked around the red light districts to see what it was all about, and it's really kind of tragic to have these women that are under glass,
Yes.
in a sense, selling their bodies, to complete strangers without any kind of, relationship. And that's why I've always abhorred it, and I'm a serial monogamist, and that, just because the very fact that you're not developing a relationship first before you have sexual relations, I find
Well,
kind of
getting on back to Epstein and this issue of underage sex here, to me, it all comes down to this question: how do you, as a responsible adult, treat children? And again, those who would exploit children for sexual purposes, to me, there is something seriously wrong with them mentally.
Yeah, and I would advocate in the case of Epstein, absolutely bring back the gallows, and a man like him running a child prostitution rings, he should be summarily executed without a doubt after trial.
Well, I'm opposed to the death penalty, but on the other hand, a little tiny guillotine might not be a bad idea at this particular point.
Yeah, but he, that's pretty heinous behavior if you think about that. He's not only running child sex rings, but also doing it over, I don't know, flying people around and running a brothel and obviously trying to avoid the eye of the law by buying his own private island. And on the large scale, and that was what I was alluding to yesterday, I think it's not just in the United States. And like I said about sex tourism, there are many people who go overseas looking for similar kind of activity and exploit other, people, the poor people in other nations with that kind of behavior,
Well, it's not a very flattering portrait of humanity. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and I think this is a case for, if Donald Trump and the Justice Department are cracking down on child sex trafficking, I think we should coordinate these efforts throughout the world, and to maybe, coordinate it with other nations so they can more mimic Western standards.
Well, I don't know. With Epstein running around our country, I don't think Western standards can be held up as the model. I know you're talking about all these other countries that have sex tourism, but, looking at Epstein, looking at the Franklin scandal, it's obviously a major problem here in the United States of America. It's just been kept under wraps by the corporate media.
It's true. The Star UK article had the United States was number 4. It was underneath Thailand, Brazil, United States, and then Canada. So you're right.
Okay. Well,
not just the non-Western nations.
It's not something to be very, very proud of, I don't think. All right. Well, listen, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to let you go. We're going to do a shout out to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. And we're going to go back to the phones to Jim. And Jim, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Michael. First of all, any person involved in child prostitution or child pornography, there's a special in hell for them.
Well, if I believed in hell, I would want to agree with you. And
Okay,
I'm trying to remember the name of Rowan Atkinson was this comedian, did Mr. Bean, and he had this wonderful routine about him being the devil and welcoming all the sinners to hell. And it was all very compartmentalized and departmentalized, and where he had all, the buggerers against one wall next to that little tiny guillotine. And it's a nice fantasy. Unfortunately, I think a lot of these people, probably like myself, don't believe in a heaven or a hell. And that's why they engage in this kind of behavior, because they don't think there's going to be anything bad that happens to them, as long as they have the political juice to keep law enforcement away from them.
Well, again, maybe hanging them or shooting them or even castrating them. I don't know. But
I would go with that last one.
Which one? Castration?
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on to my 2 points. Don't you find it interesting that the Mueller hearing has been postponed for a week or so?
Yes. Well, not just interesting isn't the word I would use. I find it very alarming that it looks like they're trying to find a way to basically let him off the hook and not have testimony before the Congress here. All right, well, listen, Jim, stay on the line. We got to take a break for commercials. I'm going to put you on hold, and we'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're talking with Jim in Illinois. We're talking about how the Robert Mueller testimony has been postponed. And, of course, there's no guarantee it won't be postponed again. But this, again, there has been so much skullduggery, if you will, going on. The powers that be are desperate to keep it out of the eyes and minds of the American people. Because I'm sure they realize we're reaching a breaking point where we're just sick and tired of all this kind of nonsense, whether it's Russiagate or Epstein's plea bargain or the rest of it. We're coming to understand that we live in a country where the rich and powerful can just do whatever it is that they want, and that's not a country that we want to live in.
Well, Michael, do you think the Mueller postponement has something to do with the Jeffrey Epstein situation?
I don't really see a connection between the two. I think it's a case of giving Mueller time to strategize his conformity, if you will, with the official story. But again, Attorney General William Barr is saying the Department of Justice will back him up if he decides not to testify at all. And to me, that is a red warning sign.
Right. Okay. And finally, it was reported today that the consumer debt is $31 trillion and counting, and the government debt is $23 trillion. Do you see a way of getting out of this situation?
No, it's going to have to all come crashing down.
Right, and it also was reported that in China, they're over $20 trillion in consumer debt.
Yes.
So I think the entire world is in trouble, and I don't see an answer.
The entire world is in trouble because the entire world, with few exceptions, are enslaved to these private central banks, which by design produce more debt than money with which to pay that debt. And it's just a way of transferring the real assets of the people into the pockets of the bankers. And until we have the wisdom and the strength to get rid of private central banks and go back to an honest banking system, it's going to continue to be like this.
Right. Well, Michael, you have a nice weekend. Oh, by the way, when you and Claire go back to go to Indiana, make sure she keeps her seatbelt buckled regarding the situation that happened in Hawaii yesterday or today.
What situation was that?
It was a Air Canada flight was going to Australia, and they were flying over Hawaii, and there was some turbulence, and 29 people were injured.
Well, we always wear our seatbelts in the aircraft and in the car, so I don't think that's really going to be an issue for us. At my age, I'm actually uncomfortable not wearing a seatbelt.
Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. Well, Michael, you have a nice weekend. Take care.
All right, thanks an awful lot, and we're going to switch over to Tom in Indiana. Hello, future neighbor. What's on your mind?
Hello, Mike. I want to shout out the first hooray for Trump getting rid of Dan Coates.
Okay.
You know who Dan Coates is, right?
I've heard the name. I don't remember exactly who he is.
He's one of the security people, like the head of the security for the CIA and NSA and all that.
Okay, good.
He used to be our congressman here back in Indiana. I never voted for the guy because his ears are run upside down. And when you see pictures of him, you'll wonder why his ears are run upside down. I think he's an alien. But anyway, he stabbed us in the back on the Second Amendment here in Indiana, and we never forgot that. And I don't know how he brought his way into being a senator. I know how he got to be a congressman, but I don't know how he got to be a senator and be reelected as a senator. You know, he took over Quayle's job when Quayle went to be vice president, but then we found out what a snake in the grass he was. And then he ran again. He took a leave of absence after he showed himself off and took a leave of absence. And then later on, the people elected him to fulfill an empty seat for the Senate. And then they picked him as this intelligence thing. And to me, I want to just say hooray, hooray, hooray for getting rid of this guy. Trump's going to get rid of this guy. I'm sure he's one of the guys that snowballed Trump with the NSA and the CIA and the FBI, and I'm glad he's going away. And when he goes away, like Evan Bly or Birch Bly, when he goes away, he won't come back to Indiana. He'll live in Washington where he belongs, in the sewer, the swamp. And that's all I have to say about that, and welcome to Indiana.
Well, thank you very much here. And the article I saw said that Trump is considering replacing him, but hasn't made the decision just yet. And one of the things I like about Indiana is their gun laws are much more relaxed than here in Hawaii. Hawaii has some of the strictest gun laws in the nation. And, you know, it's rather interesting. Somebody actually sent me this mouse pad saying, "This is Indiana, go be unarmed somewhere else." and they sent it to me before we made the decision to move. All right. Thanks a lot for the phone call, Tom. We got to let you go. Take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms or you have a concealed weapon permit and want a level of training that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range, Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356 or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN, at hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. And we're going to go to Steve in West Virginia. Aloha, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Good to hear you. I'm glad you're rested. I've got 3 quick things I want to bring up to you. The first thing is, there's this term before, and I want to see. I can't think of the name precisely, but it's when one Jew helps like the intelligence agency. You mentioned it before. It's called a psionym.
Yeah, the psionym. They're not officially part of the Mossad, but it's a network of Jewish individuals who can be counted on to support the Mossad operations in foreign countries.
Exactly. Okay. Now, here's what I want to say. This guy, Wexner, if anybody's done any research into Leslie Wexner, the guy from Ohio, Victoria's Secret, this guy is a serious Zionist. I mean, he's not just a wealthy Jewish guy. He's a Zionist.
Okay, could you repeat that last part? Steve, are you there?
After reading about Wexner and one guy this isn't just one pervert that did all this. This is an operation. There's no doubt in my mind about it.
Could very well be. I mean, the Sionim, there are things like, they're car dealers who will provide cars for the Mossad. They're doctors who will patch up Mossad agents without reporting it to the police. And it's a huge network.
Well, this guy provided a mansion and an island, or possibly an island, but he provided a $77 million mansion. And it doesn't look like Epstein bought the mansion. It looks like it was just. So,
well, a lot of people are trying to figure out just where it is that Epstein got all of his fabulous fortune. I mean, they're looking back at his career at Bear Stearns, and then, of course, he started his own company. But he does seem to have a lot more money than can be honestly accounted for.
Exactly. I mean, all you would have to do is go and ask him, okay, how did you get your first money? And then you just say, okay, well, what happened after that? How did you, and you could trace all the trades and all the, I mean, most of these hedge funds and stuff, you can trace everything back to how they got it. And I bet you they can't and they won't try and trace how he got his money. I bet you his money came from the Israeli government.
Well, it doesn't even have to come from the Israeli government. I mean, one of the things that sympathetic traders can do is they'll execute trades, and then at the end of the day, the trades that worked out positively go into the account of the favored individual, and the losing trades get spread out among all the suckers. And this is how Red Bone basically helped Hillary Clinton with Cattlegate.
Right. Well, the other thing they're doing too is these people, they're getting all this money for books, but a lot of people are saying that the books is just a way to launder the money. These book deals.
Yeah. So, book deals are kind of a nudge, wink, wink way of a political payoff.
Right. Well, the other last thing I want to say real quick is I know you're not high on these people, but the QAnon people have been talking about this thing for a while. And they've been talking, about, I don't really believe them, but they've been talking about this thing where the Clintons were going to be entrapped in some way, and now it's coming out to look like they're right about it.
Well, so I certainly hope so. I'd like to see the Clintons held to account for at least some of what they've done. I'd love to see them held to account for the murder of Vince Foster. I don't think that's going to happen. But at the very least, we know that Clinton Foundation does not, in fact, qualify to be a 501c3. And I'm waiting for the Internal Revenue Service to basically revoke that 501c3 status, at which point the Clintons become personally liable for all those taxes.
Yeah, exactly. Mike, one last quick thing I want to bring up. I also read that if any of these girls, like Clinton got caught with the blue dress, the semen stain, I've read now that they can take a semen stain on clothing, and they can tell exactly how old the semen was when it was deposited there.
I don't know if they can date it, but I mean, they can certainly identify who it came from. And that was the reason Monica Lewinsky and her blue dress was such a threat to Bill Clinton. He couldn't deny that was his stain on the dress.
Right, but what if these girls are supposedly been assaulted and raped or whatever? What if they've got clothing with these guys, their semen on it? I mean,
well, I don't know. Let me do a quick web search here.
The Q people are also saying that they've got videos on all these people too.
Well, if they've got videos and they've got pictures, that's definitely something. Okay, I'm not seeing anything here that says it's possible to date a DNA stain. So
okay, well, I read it from a reporter. It was one of those reporters. I think she was interviewed on Jason Goodman. Can't think of her name, but I heard it a couple of days ago.
I think
But
more
anyways,
than a
I'll let you
DNA
go.
stain, travel records are going to be very telling. I think that would be much more convincing to a jury than some lab report on the DNA stain.
Right. Mike, I'll let you go, and I'll let you get to the other callers. Thank you, and I'm one state away from you in West Virginia. We're one and a half
Well,
states.
West Virginia is a beautiful, beautiful state, and Claire and I are looking forward to being able to sort of travel around a little bit more because, this tiny little island, it's a beautiful island, but it is tiny. It's all lava, and we're looking forward to being able to get out and just sort of travel around and enjoy that part of the country. Anyway, thanks an awful lot for the phone call, Steve.
Not only that, yeah, we've got better gun laws than even Indiana. Take it easy.
All right. Well, I don't know that I'm going to avail myself of the gun laws. I'm kind of getting too old for that sort of thing. But let's switch over to Dustin in New Jersey. Aloha, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, before I say anything, Mike, if you're moving to Indiana, and I don't like sports, but you need to rewatch Hoosiers with Gene Hackman.
Oh, that was a great movie. That was a great movie.
Yeah. I hate sports. I used to play baseball when I was smaller, but I like sports movies like 8 Men Out and Blue Chips. I can't stand sports in general. I just can't watch NASCAR driving around. I can't watch Monday Night Football. I don't watch any of that stuff.
I used to be a big fan of synchronized swimming, but my favorite team drowned.
Okay, Mike, what I talked about this not the other day, the day before, was about how everybody going to Jeff Epstein's island might not be into young girls, but if they go there for a party on the weekend, they get drunk and they get introduced some 18-year-old or 20-year-old. And when they show up back to the office on Monday morning, there's a manila envelope sitting on their desk and it has pictures of them sleeping with a 12 or 14-year-old girl with braces. That's the thing, man. It's an extortion and blackmail ring. This is a professional ring that is state sponsored. It's got to be because remember you said he has 2 private planes, right? But he also borrowed the DynCorp, right? And the CIA
he was using
plane?
the DynCorp plane.
Yeah, I mean, this is bigger. This is Mossad, CIA, maybe British intelligence gathering information on politicians all around the world to use as leverage.
Yes.
That's it. I mean, it's got to be it. This is and Jeff Epstein's just the front man. This is bigger than Jeff Epstein, man.
Jeff Epstein is the focus right now. But again, what I keep thinking about is that anybody in a position of power and authority, they just had to know going down to that island or to the place in Florida or the place in Manhattan or the place in New Mexico that there were going to be cameras and microphones, and apparently they just didn't care.
Yeah, Mike, they got pulled in, but you know what's sad? Look at the Costa guy who stepped down. Is there anybody that Trump put in that's not gone yet? I mean, my God. Trump, hire me. I'll weed out all these people. John Bolton and Mike Pompeo and Gina Haspel got to go. Acosta went, but it took him so long. Come on now. We knew about... there's been plenty of YouTube... Everybody knew he was the Attorney General of Florida that gave him the sweetheart deal, and Epstein was like going home 80% of the time from the prison, from the country called prison.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. I mean, like everybody knows about Palm Beach, I mean, and I live in New Jersey, and I know. So, but I mean, my God, this Acosta guy is a scumbag, okay? Like,
yes.
He is part of that protecting the system, Mike. This is the system they're protecting.
Yes.
The elitists, the system, and this is worldwide. That includes Prince Andrew
yes.
in Britain. Hey, Mike, did you know that when Epstein was, before he worked for Bear Stearns, he was a school teacher at the Dalton School. Do you know anything about the Dalton School? Like,
Not
does
really.
anybody know? Yeah, me either. If anybody can call in to get some information about the Dalton School, did you know Attorney General Bob Barr's father was the headmaster of that? I mean, this is a small-knit group of people.
Yes.
I mean,
I've heard of the Dalton
left.
School. I just don't know that much about it.
Me either. I hope somebody calls in to let us know because, but his father left and somebody else came in, and I know Epstein was still there. Now, was this, like the Dalton School, some kind of intelligence, like an intelligence gathering school to bring intel? Because, Epstein, like we said, is this is an intelligence operation. People calling in know that. You know that. I mean, it's that obvious now. It's just how far it goes with the blackmail and the payoffs and this or that. Oh my God, I never seen anything like this. I mean, Trump's getting pulled in with Acosta. Why is Acosta in his administration? I mean, I never seen anything like this. It's just, it seems like it's all like a small group of people. Either Mueller or Comey's daughter prosecuting. It's always a small group of people. You notice that? It's just, there's nobody outside this small group of people. And I mean, and Mike, you know what's scary? What about people in the Pentagon or the CIA or the NSA or the DEA or the DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, that are involved in maybe going to Jeff Epstein's island, and maybe we don't even know that's the only island he had. What else does he have?
No, we know that this kind of activity was going on in the mansion in Florida. The current case is the activities were going on in the mansion in Manhattan, and now the state of New Mexico has opened a probe into sex crimes against multiple victims at his ranch in New Mexico. So yeah, he was doing it pretty much everywhere at all of his residences.
But Mike, maybe there's more than those few states. Maybe it's every state. Maybe they have an area in every state where they can gather information or blackmail, extortion to get everything on corporate heads and, CEOs and Congress, senators, presidents, Supreme Court justices, actors, actresses, athletes. Where does it end? People in power, people in the intelligence agencies, it just blows my mind. Like, it seems like it's a small group of people still protecting each other. That includes around the world, like Britain and France.
It's like when you went to high school and there was that clique of all the rich kids, and they hung together and they protected each other and they got away with everything, and it was just infuriating to watch.
Like that movie Heathers, I think it was, with
yes,
one of the actors. But before I get off the phone, somebody, if I can remember, mentioned about the now I can't remember about New York, I think it was, and like how the mansion wasn't, like, he didn't own the mansion, somebody else did. Jeff Epstein could be the front man, but he might not be the only man. There's people behind him. It's a ring, but it's an intelligence gathering ring that's bigger than him. And
well,
it's bigger than all of us.
Acosta said as much during his confirmation with the Trump administration.
Yep, that he's intelligence. So he said it, Mike.
Yep.
But that was how many days ago, and Trump still kept them in. Like, does Trump even know what's going to hell on?
Apparently not, or maybe he does and he just doesn't care. I have seen Trump seems to have an attitude of not really caring about the people who've helped him in the past. So it's kind of like this, we're going to do what we're going to do right now. And, thank you for the help in the past, but we don't need you anymore.
Yeah, well, I'm a Democrat, Mike. I voted for Trump. Okay, I voted for Trump. Sheldon Adelson didn't vote for Trump. Netanyahu and Prince Salman from Saudi Arabia didn't vote for Trump. I did. Okay?
Yes.
And so did Joe from Tennessee. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to vote for Trump anymore because even though he got rid of, Acosta stepped down. I don't know if Trump told him to leave or not, but for everybody in Trump's administration sucks. They suck. That's the bottom line.
Well, Trump
like,
seemed to be defending Acosta right up until this morning.
Which means, to me, Mike, that I don't know Trump. I don't know the Clintons, So maybe this thing needs to be just put out wide open, which I don't think it's going to be. But if we learn the truth, the people who supported Trump or the Clintons would have egg on their face. Have a good show, Mike.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to take another break for commercials. We have another caller waiting on the line, and we'll be right back.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about Angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. After just 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms or you have a concealed weapon permit and want a level of training that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range, Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356, or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN, at hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it.
How healthy are your arteries? Deteriorating circulation has a number of early warning signs. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, fingers and or toes often go cold, arms and or legs often go to sleep, sharp diagonal crease in the earlobe, short walks cause cramping or pains in legs, memory is not as good as it used to be, ankles swell late in the day, chest pain after physical exercise or emotional stress. If you experience even one of these symptoms, your circulatory system is crying out for attention. Extendivite is a natural solution to help improve your overall health. Extendivite is not your average heart tonic. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or find us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something women getting
And
what
Aloha America, welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Todd in California. Aloha, Todd. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
You got to stop changing and start using something else stateside instead of aloha. Might as well start. Anyways.
I haven't figured out how they say greetings from Indiana. Actually, if we do wind up living in Santa Claus, I'm going to start the show saying ho, ho, ho.
That's great. I love it. So listen, I had a lawsuit. I spoke to you about it.
Yes.
Not all the details, but one thing that I want to point out that where I see felonies committed by Ola Costa himself is the failure to represent the victims appropriately. They set those victims up for failure, and they didn't and nobody was hearing what I was hearing when that idiot Acosta was speaking to the world. They set those victims up for failure, and there's no doubt about it in my mind.
They basically implied that they were all prostitutes.
Well, they wanted, and not only that, they said that when there was the situation found out where there was money involved, if you hear it, what I heard, then they said, well, there's then this kind of culpability kind of crap. And I'm going, what the hell are you talking about? You have to first make sure that the victims are presented in their case to the highest degree if they are a victim of sexual predation, especially when you have multiple accounts. And we're not just talking, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. We're talking, just let's talk about Lolita Express, Bill Clinton alone, 26 times, okay? This is culpability. And I don't care what anybody says, oh, no sitting president has ever gone to prison. I think it's about time that we start thinking about that.
I
as
agree.
a nation, to cleanse this land. We need to literally cleanse the land. And the more that we give a bypass, I've seen some pretty despicable adults act pretty despicably. My son's first attorneys, they were great. They ended up going to federal prison for stealing their clients' payouts. Okay, or whatever I can't think of what it's called, but
settlements.
Whenever there's a claim, the settlement. Okay, and so they all have done it, and they're all, and when I saw that, and then I got another set, and I'm not going to tell you who that is because we're just getting the checks, all that stuff lined up, but I see a lot of cracks in the entire legal system in representing us versus the politicians who continue to deflect, obfuscate, and work in cahoots with so-called district attorneys who, let me just say this, I'm not digging what I'm seeing. Don't you think that there's a lot of collusion?
Todd, I got to put you on hold. Todd, I got to put you on hold. Don't hang up.
No problem.
We're going to come right back to after station identification.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443, and we're talking with Todd in California. And yeah, I think the more people look around, the more injustice they see in our so-called justice system, where the rich and powerful get away with crimes. They get away with stealing things. I remember when my mother passed away, her attorney, who was also the executor of her will, almost wound up with her house, and we had to go to court to try and get that taken care of. So, and we reported him to the State Bar Association. Nothing was done.
The State Bar will never do nothing to their own. I've learned that myself. You know, Mike, and some other things that I found in default in the case is his lips are moving, so he's lying.
Yeah.
And you hear a lot of deflection. And when I hear that deflection, and you just look at his face and that jawline, it's just pure arrogance. Just pure freaking arrogance. And also, that's Jeb Bush country, so something happened down there, and this is old cronyism that is still down there, and all this old cronyism, you know, I'm not defending Trump, but it was there before he got there. And all these people that are playing the game and the players, you know what I mean by players and actors,
yes,
and principals, because there's very few principals, really. It's like being an A-lister, if you know what I mean by principles in this situation. That I was going over a list. I found a list today of 150 people that have been on the Lolita Express, visited the island, and have done business very intimately with Jeffrey Epstein. You know, people like Richard Branson,
yes,
Geraldo Rivera.
Yes.
I mean, the list is incredible. And it's interesting how over 15 years ago, Trump said, hey, you can't come here to Mar-a-Lago anymore. I don't know what that's all about. All we can do is speculate.
Well, no, we do know what that was about. Epstein was caught assaulting an underage worker.
Well, that's what we hear, okay? And I'm continuing to believe that, but some will scream foul play on that even, for God's sake. So, you know, that's why I didn't say it, but I'm glad you did. And, you know, the point that I also see is the deprivation of rights of the victims in a big, massive way, because they're not talking about the victims at all. They keep pointing back to Epstein. Well, if you say it long and loud enough, isn't that creation of the weight of the court case? So what they're doing is they're trying to create weight. But I beg to differ when you have 30 some odd principals that are on the receiving end of sexual deviancy, that weight of what they carry in paper alone shall outweigh any billionaires. It doesn't matter. They can have the full weight of this. It's over for Epstein. I think he should be considered pariah non gratis. He should be excommunicated from U.S. soil. And I think that all his personal belongings and possessions should be forfeited to the states of the 30 some odd plus victims. We know of 30. I think there's at least 100.
Yes.
And one of the things that people forgot on the Newsvine about 8 years ago, the Royal Order of Jesters that were caught, gallivanting all over Latin America on underage sexual tours. You can look that up. It was first on Newsvine, Royal Order of Jesters. Now, I would like to see those players and principals brought back into the limelight and see what kind of sweetheart deal they got, because guaranteed they did as well. And I think that the U.S. Parents outweigh the sexual deviance of this nation. And I think we have enough to say that, Mr. Trump, you need to step up to the plate and do what you were elected to do. First is to protect us as U.S. citizens. I want that border wall built, okay? I don't give a damn about who's on the other side. I'm tired of the drunken drivers. I have 3 friends that have been hit twice by illegals. And some of them, this is their 3rd and 4th and 5th. And you're like, when is enough, Pelosi? So the victims, let's go back to us. We are the victims, and we should have right to the legal sense of protection from what is declared to us in the Constitution. I'm not even getting into the Bill of Rights, because that's a whole nother ball of wax, okay? But just within the Constitution, protecting us, no foreign entanglements and things like that. I think that, these people that are players, actors, and principals have been found out, Mike, and they're falling one domino at a time. They just yesterday arrested another director. I think you saw that. Hollywood director. I forget. He's worked on many, many movies.
Yes.
He's done. His career is completely over. He will never, ever, ever work in Hollywood again. And I think he'll be probably, and here's another thing. I'm very surprised that I hear of no sheriff enforcement of restrainment on the areas that Epstein can go. I don't know what that's called, when you put a restraint on someone else and they can't come near you within a half a mile or something, whatever that is. I'm surprised none of those were issued by the girls on him, because if he would have been in a half a mile of them, that should have been an instant arrest, okay? They were not protecting the victims. Again, going back to the victims, okay? And I do find it quite amazing that many attorneys, they do this. They whitewash this stuff over so fast just for the deal. They're always waiting for the deal. They want a deal, okay? And a lot of times when they want that deal, guess what? Later on down the road, just like that jackass DA that tried to bust all those Duke lacrosse players, he knew it was a sham, but he played the game. He became a principal. And guess what? He lost his license. He lost the position of DA. He lost his license to ever practice law again in that state and the rest of the United States. In other words, he's now a quisling, okay? He became a quisling. And a quisling is the worst thing in the world for a human being to become. And all these players, principals, and actors that you see, that I'm telling you, Mike, I swear my bones are feeling the blood and the marrow, everything in me is just ignited with this. And I do feel that there is going to be hundreds, if not thousands, of heads to roll. And you know what? I say this, let them roll, because these people have been playing this for a long time. And it's time for the theocracy to get it, theocracy, theaterocracy,
yep,
to come to an end, because that's all it is theater. They're creating drama where drama doesn't need to be. They're and this thing with 9/11, that alone should have been the key factor for indicting Bush and Cheney. Their principal role was to protect the United States people. Whatever happened that day, whoever were the players and principals and actors, they failed on the job. And God help and rest their soul when they get on the other side, because I don't think it's going to be very pretty for them. But again, back to the victims. I think that we need, as a nation, to come behind everybody that has had some sort of dealings with this. Look, CPS is far from perfect. I'd say they're 70% corrupt
Yes.
at this stage in game. Okay, I'd say there's maybe 30% or less that really knows what CPS originally was used for. And I really think that it's time that all these departments be rolled up, disenfranchised, take their offshore accounts, shut them down, or put a ban from any sort of finances or fiduciaries going out. I mean, they just caught the J.P. Morgan cocaine Al-Qaeda ship. Did you see that?
I saw that. $1.3 billion worth of cocaine.
Yeah.
And of course, you know,
Isn't
J.P.
that
Morgan,
interesting?
the big question is J.P. Morgan involved in laundering all that money?
Well, that money was going to be laundered to pay for all their silver that they still owe money on. They had all those puts back in the day that were a high-end payout. And guess what? They didn't have the actual physical silver. Remember when they got sued for that?
I remember that.
So it's just, and by the way, if you think that this is one ship that's got a 1.3 billion, I got a bridge in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. I'll bet you there's 10 more of those floating around in our docks.
I would imagine so.
About that. And I would say that the 1.3, that's probably on the low end. I'll bet you we have ships out there with 2, 10, 15 billion worth of hardcore drugs. And you have to take that back to the BCCI scandal. John Kerry, by the way, has a backdrop part of that, you know, Mr. Vice President and others, lots of others. When I read the backdrop white papers on that, never saw Trump's name once on that, but it's very interesting that BCCI is all these players, actors, and principals that were in before Trump got in. I'm not saying Trump's perfect. I don't want to say that. He's done some things that I don't like. Okay, and I think some things are taking too long. But we as a nation are looking outward into just a small group of people. They don't get it. The theater is looking on them like you guys are the most appalling people to ever dress in a suit. Why in the world would we not want you to be arrested for felony for not protecting the rights of the victims? Why wouldn't we as a nation want an official, if Barr is the AG and he's supposed to do his job, you know, then how about we have some kind of consensus as an ombudsman to the United States people and our citizenship that, hey, this is going back to massive problems at Franklin Town on up. And it's now known as, you know, and then you get all the areas like Ohio has a big problem with the children being abducted problem and trafficking. It's right there because it's right near on the Canadian border. Okay, Ohio's big. Everybody knows it. I'm not saying nothing that nobody knows. Okay. And then you got North Carolina down south to Florida. Okay, everybody knows about that. But look where all these places are. This is every place where you find these billionaires that they live, the Berkshires, the Warren Buffett, the billionaires, the Gates. And it's very interesting. They want your children to suffer, but not theirs.
Yes.
They want your children to be vaccinated, but not theirs. They want, I mean, if you look at Bill Gates in Africa on the vaccines, I think he should be held in contempt as well with Richard Branson for pushing that crap on a nation that it unjustly did not need. Okay? And so this, you know, I'm really beginning to see that, yes, the tide has turned to a degree. But if Trump is going to continue to waffle, then our moments are gone. And I just am going to say that this is our 3.5 demarcation point, that we got 3.5 years left, in my opinion, just my opinion. I don't know if this is prophecy or what, but just my opinion.
Yeah.
I think we got 3.5 years, and I think then the full weight of the dookie from the 5-gallon bucket from Home Depot is going to be splattered everywhere. I really do. I think the false prophets are going to come out and wave their flags, and all these Antifa with Andy. There's another victim. Again, a failure to represent the victim. Look at Oregon. Look at the police, for God's sake. If there's police in Oregon, you guys should just throw down your badge, get out of your uniform, and walk. You're useless. You should tell everybody to get a weapon and protect themselves. And if Antifa wants to come up and throw a milkshake in your face, you have every right to protect yourself. Let the consequences and the chips fall where they may. It's coming to that point, Mike, where you either defend and protect yourself and all that you love, or you lose it all right now.
Yes.
And I know this because of the lawsuit. My lawsuit taught me you got to be strong. It doesn't matter. Somebody falls down on the job, big damn deal. I was in the Marine Corps. We had a mountain called Mount MF, or behind Camp San Mateo there where I was at in the north end, right near San Clemente. And I tell you what, I had to drag so many fat Marines up that hill, it sickens me. Okay? I remember my days. My days in the Marine, I had my last, I won't tell you my last name, but my first name was Crazy. And I was an M60 machine gunner. That's when M60 was still in. I was in from 83 to 87. Okay? And it's back to the victims. When are the victims going to be represented right? And I'm going to include my son in on that, because something more is going to maybe go down, and I don't know if I'm willing to pursue it or what. But I do have some interesting things that I'm going to be dialoguing with Mr. Trump about concerning autistic children and the things that I've went through, because I've put it out there and I've been told they want to talk to me. So I'm going to talk to them about it. Okay? Trump is a man just like me. I don't consider him anything stronger, more spiritually this or that. We're all given the same thing. We're all on the same playing field. Back to the victims. Okay? When are there going to be an accountabilities held on state officials? I do not recognize or know of one law that protects a state official from murder, from felonious misrepresentation, if they're a state official in the capacity of legal representation. It says right in their capacity to the fullest extent of the law. And yet that isn't the case, because there's always these deflections, buy-offs. Well, we can't do this because Jeffrey Epstein, Geraldo Rivera and, Richard Branson donated to the Clinton Foundation, and they all, swung their peckerwoods at the Bohemian Grove, and then they all, it's so funny to watch these people. The theater is absolutely more comical than Friends. I swear to God. It's comical because they're children. They're not even doing adult things. These are children things.
They've never had a reason to grow up.
Lie. They have not grown up. No. Look at it. They continue to lie. Who lies? Children. These are children that never grew up. They had to hide behind a so-called law degree. So-called, most of them never even took their damn bar test. They got someone else to take it. Okay? And that's a known fact. You can go through Congress and break it down. I mean, we got it now known. The skin's wide open on the football when we look at all the California collusion with going into colleges for all these has-been children from these has-been parents that work in a has-been industry, which is the movie industry. My God, what an overpaid a bunch of people that are more corrupt and just loserish in their entire mentality of what is right and what is
I feel obligated to mention that there are a lot of good people who work in the movie industry, because I was one of them. But then, of course, I was never rich and powerful.
I got in, by the way.
I got to mention Renee Valente, who was a very famous producer and very powerful, and she was a straight shooter, and she was a very good person.
They don't like we don't like to interact with Hollywood on a whole, and that's a fact. That, because I've been on the set, and I've seen people literally lose their mind because they're sniffing meth on the set. I go, you can't.
Yeah, I've
be
seen that
real with
too.
this,
I've seen that too. A lot of drug use.
you know. And that's just the light stuff. I mean, you can find syringes, you can find the whole lot on set. Okay.
Yeah.
And it is Hollywood Babylon, and I do believe that. I mean, I became part of. Let me just explain how I got into Hollywood.
Well, Todd, I'm
got
going to
in
have to
for
let you go. I've let you have a half an hour now. We got to do a break for commercials. We got another caller waiting on the line, and we will be right back.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. By Christine, great for heart palpitations. By Ann, before I started using this product, every afternoon my ankles and my hands would be swollen. That doesn't happen anymore. So if that part of their advertising is true, I have to assume that the rest of it is also. Not to mention that when I had my yearly blood test, only a few weeks after beginning to use this product, my cholesterol had dropped over 30 points. I'm going to continue to take it. By Croc, I love this product. It really works. By Brad, works great, thank you. Tell us your story. Get your Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And Aloha America, welcome back to our show. We're going to go back to the phones to Steve Elkins. Aloha, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, your last caller was talking about Antifa and attacking innocent people, and I agree we're going to have to stand up. This retreating thing is not working. It just fuels their power. And, you know, if you notice, these people are kind of cowards. Actually, they are cowards, not kind of. They are cowards. They cover their faces up. And they target the weakest link, so they go after that person. So what we need to do is actually defend the weakest link when this happens, because these people will retreat. They're cowards. They will retreat if somebody pushes back hard enough. And it disappoints me that last guy, the journalist, was beat up. And everybody just sat back and pulled their phones out and recorded the event, but nobody stepped in to help this guy. And what should have happened is there should have been a group of people defending this guy and pushing back real hard and actually pushing these people back, have them retreating, running for the hills, because that's the only way to defeat these people. If you give in to them and you back off, they'll just beat you, and they'll get more power. So we just need to unite and push back twice as hard as they're pushing.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. We have to stand up. One of my favorite movies of all time is called Silverado, and the Helen Hunt character is responding to the fact that she's aware that her life is being threatened by the bad guys if the Kevin Kline character tries to intervene. And she says, some people think that because they're bigger or stronger that they can push you around, but it's only so if you let it be. And that's like the best line in the whole movie.
Yeah, we can't be like Quakers and turn the other cheek. It's too far gone. We got to push back and push back hard. Like I said, these are cowards. They'll retreat, and we just have to push them back.
Well, I'm absolutely in agreement there.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. That's it.
All right, thanks an awful lot. The phone lines are open if you want to call on in. And let's see. There we go. Okay, so now I imagine for the royal family, they're having some upset right now because try as they might, they're not able to keep Prince Andrew out of this scandal. As you know, he was outed for having gone to the island a while back, and the royal family and the British press basically said, oh, there's nothing there, there's nothing there. But his name is coming out again. And apparently just weeks after Epstein was released from jail from his previous crime down in 2010, Epstein hosted a bash in the Duke of York's honor at the $77 million Manhattan mansion. And apparently Andrew stayed there for 4 days. We don't know what happened, but I'm sure that the tabloids are going to have a field day with this one. And the royal family is going to be very upset about that. Okay, so apparently as part of Epstein's release back in 2011, he was ordered by the court to check in with police as a registered sex offender every 90 days. And over the course of 8 years, that would have been 34 check-ins. He never showed up once, and the New York Police Department let it slide. They just let him skip the mandatory check-ins. Oh, it's Jeff Epstein. We can't bother him with, just checking in. Okay. Now, here is one of the reasons why this story may explode. Jeffrey Epstein had a partnership worth millions of dollars with former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak back in 2015. And he basically partnered with Barak to invest in the former Prime Minister's startup. They set up a limited partnership in which he is the sole shareholder. That company invested in Reporty Homeland Security, established in 2014, becoming a major shareholder. Now, last year, Reporty changed its name to Carbine. The company develops call handling and identification capabilities for emergency response systems. Netanyahu wants this to come out ahead of the September elections. And so it's not a case of everybody wants the story to go away. There are some people who want the story to come on out. Netanyahu is one of them. And so we're going to see, especially the links to Ehud Barak, and of course Epstein's links to Barak cannot be made public without reminding everybody of who Epstein is and what he's done. And finally, apparently, Epstein has actually sold the Lolita Express, the Boeing 727-200, and he sold it just a few weeks ago. So he still has his Gulfstream G550, but the Lolita Express is no more. We got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms, or you have a concealed weapon permit and want a level of training that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range, Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356, or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN, at hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it.
It happens more often than we can imagine. In my case, I was sitting at home, and out of nowhere, I just started feeling uncomfortable. Then it got worse, and I started perspiring. I tried to ignore it, but I waited too long. The chest pain came as we were driving to the hospital emergency. I felt my life clock begin to tick. I barely survived. There was lots of damage done to my heart. What do I do now? I was lucky. I took a leap of faith and tried a 7-herb formula with hawthorn, garlic, cayenne, and more called Extendivite. Herbs have been used for thousands of years to keep us healthy. If you're not using Extendivite as a preventative supplement, maybe it's time to start. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go right back to the phones here, starting with Al in Canada. Aloha, Al. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. The ongoing freak show that is Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not religious, but there's something to be said about those 7 deadly sins. Once you cross the line,
yes,
there's no way back, really. The horrors, right?
Well, I don't know. You
Beatles
can come
warned
back
us
from
of
you can
this.
come back from gluttony. It's called a diet.
Well, yeah, yeah. You know that Beatles song? What was it? A Day in the Life. You know that, but I just had to look. It's that sort of thing, right? But beyond, and then you go beyond. You catapult. Go way beyond the propaganda, and now you're into a place where maybe you didn't know you were going to end up. So, like everything in moderation is, is a pretty good way to live, I think.
I don't know. I think moderation is for monks.
Well, unfortunately, I don't have people, doing things for me that I can't do for myself. And, obviously I'm not rich, so I wouldn't know. I don't know what kind of world those people are in. But I do know another thing too, Mike, and it's something I've learned is one always has enough cash to do it right the second time.
Yes.
Like fixing your car. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Right.
The lesson is, the older we get, the wiser we're supposed to get. And obviously, some people just can't get out of that rate. They're just stuck. And they're deplorable. They are deplorable. You ever notice the Dems do that? They turn it around and point it at somebody else. So, it's sad, Mike.
It is. It's very sad.
It's almost heart-wrenching, this stuff. If I were a father...
The problem is that we have allowed such people to attain power over us, and it's bad enough they're corrupted themselves, they're corrupting the rest of the world with them.
Yeah. As soon as this broke again, Mike, I'm pretty much sure that you hit it right on the head right away. And the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm starting to realize that, you know what? This is huge. This is worldwide, this sort of thing.
Yes.
Because this guy wasn't just like, he wasn't like some little guy. And he sold his plane, so obviously that means that it's hurting, maybe. Who was it? Did Deutsche Bank just dropped him or something like that? Or
I hadn't heard that, but I think
bank.
the reason he sold the Lolita Express is he just wanted to distance himself from it.
Yeah, I would imagine, he's got a lot more money. He has a lot of friends. Maybe not so much in the future, but I don't think anything's going to happen, Mike.
Well,
honestly.
we'll see. I mean, obviously the bail hearing is set for Monday, and it will be interesting to see if the judge grants him bail, and that if Epstein does get bail, if he just flees the country.
Yeah. Like you said, those in-flight logs, they pretty much tell the story
Yes.
of what went on, on those airplanes, where they came from and where they ended up.
And who was writing.
We'll see what's going to happen, right? Great show, Mike. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much here, and we're going to go to Miles in Maine. Aloha, Miles. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, good afternoon, Michael. Good afternoon, Michael. I was, just a side comment, I was a little shocked at Dustin admitting to being a Democrat because he's got such solid positions on just about everything. But what I was calling, I wanted to ask the one caller before Steve Elkins, and Steve Elkins commented on Antifa and so on and so forth. And I wanted to get your opinion. When there's crimes, there's rewards that come out and for the capture or, that type of thing on any individual committing the crimes and things like that. And in the Western days, they had, rewards and wanted dead or alive and things like that. What if there was an organization that offered, anyone who successfully, through whatever means, if it's defending their life or whatever, leads to the succumbing of an Antifa or somebody committing violence on a person, and they offered a reward.
Well,
kind of impact do you think that
again,
makes?
that could be considered incitement to violence if they're not charged with law enforcement. I mean, the image of the Old West, of course, is greatly skewed by motion pictures, but the reality is that it was the local sheriff that was putting up the posters saying wanted, dead or alive, and that basically made it legal. So the idea of just putting up your own wanted posters and saying, I'll pay a reward to have somebody harmed, that I think would be a crime.
Well, no, I'm not saying that or suggesting that. I'm just saying someone who defended themselves, righteously so, and someone, an organization said, look, we're recognizing this member. You know, it may be, a pro-Second Amendment organization or anything, but we're recognizing this member that successfully defended himself, and in doing so, we're given a $1,000 scholarship or whatever in their name or something like that.
Well, that might work.
You think
that might work? That
Yeah.
could be something that the NRA might want to look at.
Yeah, and that's what I was commenting on, because I think, it needs to kind of be something where good people are recognized for heroic efforts anymore, like Steve Elkins mentioned, and that's what I was kind of getting at. They stood there and watched the guy get attacked, assaulted, and beat up, and like he said, somebody should have been able to do something more than just take pictures of it.
Yep. I agree.
So, well, anyway, that's my comment. That's my comment, Michael, and keep up the good job, and thanks for a great show.
All right. Well, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. Switch over to Jeff in St. Paul. Aloha, Jeff. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm a sideline reporter on this ping pong game. I think the current score is 27-4. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay. Could you say that again?
I says I'm a sideline reporter on the ping pong game this week about the number of flights, 27-4.
Okay.
Well, the party that is claiming 4, he's actually talking about 4 training flights. I don't know. It's just crazy what's going on.
So you're saying that whoever bought the Lolita Express, the 727-200, is going to use it for training?
No, I'm saying that the guy that claims is only on the plane 4 times, he was talking about training flights, but the record says he was on the plane for 27 flights.
You're talking about Bill Clinton?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I don't know. It's like every day the world gets crazier and crazier. I'm glad we can go and look at what really happened. So, are you going to go to a city or like a rural area when you move to Indiana?
Rural. Very rural.
Well, I hope you get some wires up in the trees and get some shortwave radios.
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely going to do that. In fact, before we leave here, I got to take down the shortwave antenna I've got here.
All right, we'll be listening. Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks an awful lot here. We're going to switch over to Mo in Florida. Aloha, Mo. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Mike. Thanks for taking my call. I just kind of wanted to mention a couple things if you have time for me.
Sure.
Somebody mentioned this school that Epstein taught at. He was a college dropout. He got in there for his influence with the upper part of the tribe, Wexler, whatever. And there was a big scandal with molesting underage girls in that school. There was a lady by the name of
it wasn't Epstein. It was one of the headmasters.
Right. It was I forget. Well, she goes into the whole thing, but it kind of it ties into the whole upper echelon of the what I'm talking about. But it's all nobody wants to say. This whole thing is very Talmudic and very you know what I'm talking about. It's sick. They put them there. I think they got away with it so long that finally the Goyim are waking up, and it's not just them. It's the ancillary players, everybody involved. But people are waking up, and I think that hopefully hopefully this is going to wake people up. But, my not question, but my observation is something makes me a little unhappy with this and bothers me a little bit, that I can understand some of these women, their families were broken up and they had these children, these beautiful little girls, but how, a lot of that is responsibility of the parents. And I know that the progressive movement, how they destroyed the family, the values aren't there anymore, the social media, whatever, but there still has to be, where's the responsibility for the parents? Can you imagine raising a daughter and this guy asked me to come up and give me a massage? What the heck's going on here? I'm not saying, I'm not blaming the parents totally, but I'm saying, where is the role? Where's the responsibility? These younger, for the father that left, for the mother that got drunk, for the parents who didn't care why these little girls were being influenced by these monsters. And that's not mentioned very much. And, where's the Me Too movement in this? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I agree. You have to wonder what happened to the parenting situation. Now, apparently some of these girls were runaways or homeless. Others were just, apparently some of them were recruited from Mar-a-Lago, where they were working as tower girls.
But what kind of upbringing did they have? I remember one time I was followed around. My brother and I were 8, 9 years old. We were followed around by some guy, and we knew right away this is not a good deal. Get the heck away from here. This guy's trying to pick us up. I mean, where's your instincts? Where's your parental guidance on this stuff?
Well, that's why they were using this Giselle Maxwell.
My daughter.
That's why they were using this Maxwell lady, because it was a lot easier for her to approach the girls and talk them into saying, hey, we're going to bring you down to this island all the way down in the Caribbean. It's a chance to travel and see another part of the world. And, we're going to give you several $100s, and we'll just ask you to do a few things while you're down there.
Yeah, where's the relationship with the father and the mother? Where'd you go? What happened? What's going on down there? Where's that? Where's that conversation? I'm not blaming the parents totally. I'm just saying there is a role, and that's the breakdown of the family unit, Mike. We both know this. If this was my daughter and this happened to her, Epstein would be, I would have turned that rooster into a hen immediately.
Yes.
I wouldn't care if they killed me. I wouldn't care. He would die, because nobody's going to do that to my daughter. Where are these parents? That's the outrage I have, Mike. Other than that, I'm sorry. I appreciate you letting me vent, but I want to put my arms around these little girls with the braces and in the right way and say, hey, don't be talking to these people. Get a job, get an education. Some guy asks you to come up and give him a massage. Don't do it. Call me. Call the police. I don't know. You know what I'm saying, Mike?
I hear what you're saying.
It's infuriating. They turn them loose to these wolves.
The thing we have to look at is that, certainly a lot of these underage or formerly underage girls are coming forward now. But for the most part, it seems like at the time they did agree to go along with this. And you're right, it raises the issue of what kind of values they were raised with by their parents.
Yeah, Daddy, sweetheart, where'd you go tonight? Well, this guy asked me to go and give me a massage. What? I mean, where's that conversation? That's all I'm saying, Mike. I appreciate you for letting me vent, but I know you're a good guy, and I know how you would have raised your children, and it's infuriating to see these monsters get away with this. I cannot wait for them to go down. I don't care. I don't care what it causes this country. Like whoever said earlier, one of your callers, we need to rip this thing apart and start over, because this is like a cancer. I'm from Nebraska originally, and I remember the DeCamp thing, the Boys Town thing. This is the same situation.
You mean the Franklin scandal?
Busted. Franklin Credit Union, exactly. I'm very well aware of that. John DeCamp had a very untimely end, I believe. Fell off his tractor. It's insidious. It's like a cancer. And what do you do when you have a cancer that's metastasized? I don't know. chemotherapy, radical surgery, but something's got to be done. And it's so nice to hear, in kind of a scary way, your callers, because I think the people are waking up. And I think maybe that's exactly what we need. My fear is like you. They're going to do a false flag to try to avert attention, and a bigger one than 9/11. That's the only fear I've got, because this can of worms is open. And people are starting to rub their eyes.
That's the only thing that's going to save Epstein and his cohorts like Bill Clinton, is if they can get a big bloody war going.
Yeah, can you imagine Bill Clinton? This guy's an obvious liar. He's a rapist. He's proven liar, but yet he's still given talk shows and treated like he's got Secret Service still. We're paying for this jerk. It's really. I think the good people have been asleep way too long. It's time to wake up and do something about it. Get back to your family, get back to family values,
Well, part of it is our culture and our economy, where, again, when I was a kid, it only took one working adult to take care of the household, make sure all the bills were paid, and you had another adult at home who was raising the children. Today, both parents have to work, sometimes 2 jobs, and the kids are being raised by pop culture on TV. And that's where they get a lot of these values. Anyway, Mo, got to let you go. Got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. It really does work like the review says it does. I cannot believe that after the first few days, I didn't feel as sluggish or clogged up. It has had a profound impact on my physical, emotional well-being. I'm skeptical as most people about products and their claims, and I never write reviews, but this is a wonderful product and I recommend it to everyone. Great product. It has brought my blood pressure from the mid-150s over the 80s to the mid-130s over mid-80s, along with diet and exercise in just the past couple of months. Excellent. Thank you, David. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Now, coming from Judicial Watch, apparently John Hackett, the former Director for Information Programs and Services over at the State Department, testified under oath. He tried to sound the alarm over former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server, and that she had in fact called out 30,000 of the personal emails without following strict National Archive standards. And so Hackett is part of a series of court-ordered depositions and questions under oath of senior Obama-era State Department officials, lawyers, and Clinton's aides. He also revealed that he believed there was interference with the formal Freedom of Information Act review process related to the classification of Clinton's Benghazi-related emails. So bit by bit, Judicial Watch is digging through. They're doing good work over there. They really are. Now, U.S. Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib took a swipe at American lawmakers who are trying to criminalize the boycott, divestment, and sanctions campaign in a tweet denouncing the move as unconstitutional. And she's absolutely right. It is a violation of the First Amendment to say we cannot talk about what Israel is doing to Palestine. And it's rather shameful to see how many of our politicians are willing to sell out and subvert the Bill of Rights to please their masters in Tel Aviv. All right, so we're getting into the presidential race here, and it turns out that once again, as was the case with Ted Cruz, we have candidates who are not actually constitutionally eligible. And apparently Kamala Harris is one of those. Her parents were in the United States under student visas when Harris was born in Oakland, California. They were not U.S. citizens at that time. I don't actually think that is a requirement. But a student visa requires a non-immigrant intent. That is, one must swear they have no intention to stay, and Harris' parents appear to have lied. Now, the real disappointment is Tulsi Gabbard, who was born in American Samoa, not on a military base. And like McCain's Canal Zone birth, it is doubtful that birth in the American Samoa qualifies Gabbard as a natural-born citizen. And her father, Mike Gabbard, was also born in American Samoa, but had no other claim to citizenship. So we'll see what's going to happen there. It's a shame, because I want to see Tulsi move forward here. Okay, Joe Biden gave a speech back on the 11th outlining his foreign policy objectives, in which he stated the United States must stand with Israel regardless of who the prime minister is. So if it's Netanyahu, that's fine. If it's somebody else, that's fine. We stand with Israel. The relationship is ironclad. So he delivered this 40-minute speech at City University of New York and spent most of it vowing to rejoin the Paris Climate and the Iran nuclear deal. Okay, there's our music. We're going to take a break for station identification. When we come on back, we'll be joined by the lovely Lady Claire. And thank you especially today.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms or you have a concealed weapon permit and want a level of training that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range, Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356 or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN at hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth. What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 3. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And for those of you watching on YouTube, this gorgeous creature sitting next to me is the lovely Lady Claire. And Claire, especially today, thank you very much for helping me get through hour number 3. Okay. Perhaps it would help if I turned up your microphone.
That might be useful.
Sure, do it the easy way.
This comes to us from Zero Hedge, which I have found to be a pretty straight shooter. And I think it's important for our readers and listeners. Yes, we know that you like to read and listen to what we do, but go out there and explore some of the other independent blogs also. And this is one of the best.
But always come back to what really
happened.
Yes,
always. Apparently, Trump and the Brits are tirelessly trying to get a war on Iran going. Now, this comes to us from Kurt Nemo, a very responsible, sober guy. And apparently, yesterday evening, social media posts claimed that the UK flagged a Japanese-owned crude oil tanker, Atlantic Pacific, which had crossed into Iranian territorial waters. According to the marine traffic website today, the tanker was in the Gulf of Oman, okay? And there have been some bits and pieces posted on this. Time to see what Iran does, if anything. Pic.twitter.com, whatever else. Evan McLean. And now we also have this story from yesterday. Iranian Revolutionary Guards tried to catch up with a British oil tanker, but they failed. Okay? Now, I don't...
The British version of the story is a little different. The U.S. was out there trying to say the Iranians were trying to hijack and steal this tanker.
Mm-hmm.
The Brits are merely saying the Iranians blocked it and impeded its progress.
Yeah. And I don't know if these social media reports are accurate, but considering the very recent behavior of the U.S. and Britain, I cannot discount this might have happened. The U.S., with the help of the U.K., is attempting to goad the Iranians into taking action and thus providing a pretext to get the next neocon war going. And around the same time as the reports on the Atlantic Pioneer appeared on Twitter, Trump's Secretary of State posted the following about an earlier incident which was not independently verified and therefore in doubt. If Mike Pompeo says it is true, don't trust, but verify. Okay, the U.S. and U.K. governments, both with considerable track records for pathological lying, are the only sources for the supposed violation, economic warfare sanction. Now, Mike, in my head, I have this image. Now, maybe I better describe it as a waking nightmare in my head frequently of President Trump meeting with his cabinet and saying, I will be careful, darn, We can't lie the American people into another war. What the HE double hockey sticks are we going to do to get this party started with some kind of a false flag that Americans might actually believe as a justification for this war against Iran? Now, it's very interesting when you take a look at geopolitical events unfolding. The issue of timing is never left to chance. Now, Google reminds us with the following statement regarding Israel's next elections as to just how critical they are in developing and shaping both national and international Israeli policies. And it goes on to state, SNAP, legislative elections,
Say that 3 times
I
fast.
know, are due to be held in Israel on 17 September 2019 to elect the 120 members of the 22nd Knesset. Following the prior elections in April, the incumbent and Prime Minister-designate Benjamin Netanyahu failed to form a governing coalition. Now, Mike, this is the first time in Israel's history that this is happening. And regarding what you may be hearing and what the U.S. is about to do at the UN regarding Iran, Washington is weighing what are called snapback of UN sanctions on Iran. Now, it goes on to state that the U.S. is about ready to squander whatever goodwill it gleaned from the series of mysterious tanker attacks that it blamed on Iran by leveraging its veto power at the UN Security Council to impose special snapback sanctions on Tehran. And in the latest sign, Mike, that the Trump administration is planning to redouble its pressure campaign against the Islamic Republic in response to Tehran's uranium enrichment. Now, guys, they've been talking about this, but Mike, I'd like to validate again. They're only enriching it to what kind of percent? Like
3.75%.
And that is consistent with
reactor fuel rods.
Yeah, they're trying to create energy. And what would a nuclear bomb enrichment look like?
To get a uranium bomb, you have to enrich to 95% purity.
And they're nowhere close, guys. This is, we do have a little shout out.
Yes, we're going to do a shout out to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. What's really interesting, it came on out that the Norwegian tanker that was subject to one of these little firecracker attacks, its original destination was Iran.
And it had vegetable oil,
It was carrying vegetable oil.
Oh, that's got to be dangerous. Anyway, Bloomberg is reporting that senior U.S. officials are debating whether to impose the snapback sanctions, which would further elevate tensions between Washington and Tehran in response for Iran's breach of thresholds for the size of its uranium stockpile and the level of enrichment.
Now, the irony here, of course, is that the United States really has nothing to say about what Iran is doing because the United States pulled out of the P5+1 deal.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but who is the U.S. government to do this? I mean, it's insanity, Mike.
Their attitude seems to be, we're out of the agreement, we're not part of the plan, but by golly, Iran had better stay within those limits of that deal.
Or else.
Or else.
Now, Mike, if I were a betting woman, I'd almost bet, looking at today's date, which is 12 July, that Israel's Netanyahu is burning up the phone lines from Tel Aviv to D.C., impressing upon Trump how doggone short the time frame is for getting such a war going as to make Netanyahu look butch in anticipation of September's snap election in Israel. But I am equally as certain that Russia's President Putin and Iran's President Rouhani are talking to each other about how to calm the situation down and for Iran not to lash out if there is an attempt at a false flag that might get blamed on them. So, Mike, I have to look at the timing here. As I said, there are no coincidences in geopolitical events. Timing is very specific. Now, the last major summer holiday in the U.S. at the end of August is Labor Day weekend, which this year starts on Friday, 31 August.
When you and I will be in the air.
Yes, and lasts through Monday, 2 September. If the U.S., the UK, and Israel cannot get a war on before that point in time, excuse me, so that the U.S. media can fully indoctrinate the public and have it soak into the consciousness of both Americans and their British cousins before the first full week in September. Mike, what do you think? Would it be almost too late for such an attack to influence Netanyahu's reelection bid?
Well, you're talking about the effect on the American and British people here
Yeah.
as opposed to the Israeli people.
Yeah.
But I would say that probably Labor Day would be the deadline. If it was after that,
Yeah.
it's not going to get the traction.
No.
And to be very honest, I'm not sure they're going to wait until Labor Day. I think it's probably going to happen a lot sooner than that, possibly the end of this month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And here are some related stories I think our listeners and readers need to know about. The U.S. House of Representatives have passed amendments to end war authorizations, preemptively defund the Iran war. Now, supporters of this bill argued that, excuse me, Iran is just too big to get us sucked into a war without Congress having some say in the matter, while opponents say that, thank you, they're insisting that Congress is so slow in approving wars, we'd never get an attack on Iran off the ground without the president doing it unilaterally.
But again, the Constitution makes it very clear.
Yeah.
Only Congress can declare war,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
not the president.
And so here we're getting into kind of a sticky wicket because this is a very important vote because President Trump has stated that he does not need congressional authorization to attack Iran.
Well, he's flat out wrong on that one.
Ouch, you know. And he's been vetoing other War Powers Act challenges. Now, Congress is actually using the power of the purse to ensure that there's no more money to be spent on such an illegal war.
And they're doing it both with Yemen and Iran.
Yeah. And these amendments join several others passed on Thursday, yesterday, including amendments blocking arms sales to Saudi Arabia, good luck with that, and the defunding of the U.S. war in Yemen, the subject of the aforementioned war powers challenges. Now, Mike, the question I'd like to ask you, will President Trump veto this, and will he have enough votes in the House to support his veto? Or do you think the House can actually override the veto?
Well, this was the National Defense Authorization Act, and as far as I understand, Trump is going to go ahead and sign it.
Okay.
He's bitching and whining and moaning about these defunding amendments, and no doubt he and the other neocons are looking at some way they can find a workaround and say, well, we'll just take the money we were going to spend on the border wall, and we'll use that to drop more bombs on the children of Yemen.
Yeah. Now, of course, Netanyahu and his AIPAC minions are going to scream at Congress that this potential attack on Iran is just too important an issue to be entrusted to the U.S. Congress, and reminding them that he's got an election coming up in plus or minus 60 days. Now, here I thought was a very interesting observation also on Iran, and apparently the Joint Chiefs nominee opposes Iran war, and he would rather stay in Afghanistan, and he said that Iran could get in the way of confronting Russia or China. Mike, what do you think this man means, for heaven's sake?
Well, the reason they want to stay in Afghanistan is
Yeah.
they don't want to admit they lost that one.
Right.
Because that's going to take the momentum out of the war agenda as a whole.
Yeah.
And as far as Iran getting in the way of confronting Russia and China, I
Yep.
think if we go into Iran, we will be confronting both Russia and China.
Probably Russia first. And General Mark Milley, this Army Chief of Staff and the nominee to become the new chairman of the Joint Chiefs, testified to the Senate Armed Services Committee yesterday, setting out his foreign policy priorities. And very interesting, he said that it would be wrong to withdraw from Afghanistan, and it would be premature. 18 years, sir, hello. Why has 18 years not been, pardon my French, flipping long enough to resolve this? And he didn't clarify how much longer beyond the 18 years currently in would not be premature. He also argued that the U.S. should keep a modest number of troops in Iraq and Syria indefinitely.
In other words, to garrison those countries.
Absolutely. You know, I really have to worry about his thought process right now, Mike.
Yep.
But he said that it would be a way of getting in the way of confronting Russia and China. He added that he doesn't think anyone is seriously considering invading Iran.
Well, he's not paying attention on that one.
No, it's very obvious to me that Miley has yet to get the phone call from his counterpart in Tel Aviv screaming at him at the top of their lungs that he has no right to interfere with Israeli foreign relations when Netanyahu so desperately needs to hold on to power, which a U.S.-Iran war would probably boost his chances of getting reelected on.
Yes.
You know, incredible. And this is a story about allegedly ramping up the aggression coming from AFP. And apparently, U.S. plans Gulf naval escorts after Iranians menace. UK oil, how did they menace? And apparently they're going to have Gulf naval escorts. Now, Mike, am I slightly crazy here, or is this a way of ramping it up and making more sure that possibly the Iranians might react rather than respond?
Well, first of all, those Iranian patrol boats are very small.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to initiate anything against a much larger ship.
Yeah.
But it is a way for the United States to go on in there and say, see, Iran is behaving belligerently, and we are forced to do something about it.
Yeah, yeah. I hope that when Rouhani and Putin talk, that this is going to be covered, in full. And that, it's just another aggravation. And that's all it is, because when you look at situation with Iran and Israel, the competition isn't existential. The competition is financial, monetary.
Yes.
Because they are competitors in a lot of areas. High-tech medical, Iran is doing some incredible things. Israel,
yes, they are.
Same thing. And, I would encourage people to read Iranian blogs in English, presstv.com. I do read it. I do link to some of their stories because I think the American people need to have more understanding of what the Iranian position is in a lot of these situations.
I would agree.
Yeah, yeah.
We have, walk a mile in the other man's moccasins.
Yeah, right. And now Miley is talking about this escort thing happening in a couple of weeks, but given the Israeli government panicking over the House lifting the AUMF by not funding any of it, my guess would be that we will see this development come sooner rather than later.
Well, that might prompt Israel to have some kind of a false flag attack before the U.S. ships can show up and witness it.
That's possible. And now we have word of the UK deploying a second warship to protect tankers in the Gulf. Amid ongoing tanker wars following the UK's unprecedented and aggressive seizure of a super tanker transporting Iranian oil to Syria last week, which turned out to be what? Cooking oil?
No, you're
this is
confusing
different.
that with
Okay.
the Norwegian.
All right. And alleged thwarting counter-attempt of Iran's IRGC to block a UK flag tanker in the Persian Gulf. Wednesday, Britain said that it tends to plan to send a second warship to the region. Currently, the HMS Montrose is shadowing the BP-owned British Heritage tanker after it was approached by IRGC boats. This as Britain raised its threat level to British shipping in the Gulf area to its highest. Can you believe that? I mean,
yeah,
this is
I can
insane.
definitely believe that. And the corresponding insurance coverage on those tankers has now gone up by 10 times.
Yeah, that's going to be a nasty thing to have done. And boy, what a difference a day makes, considering that before the UK was saying, oh, we're not going to be sending anything, and all of a sudden, yes, we're sending destroyers. Now, we have a very interesting situation vis-a-vis China right now. Now, as our readers and listeners pretty well know, the United States authorized a $2.2 billion with a B dollar weapons deal to Taiwan.
Yes.
And China is now going to sanction American companies selling weapons to Taiwan. And the article goes to open with When it comes to tail risks that could cause World War III, shimmering tensions around Taiwan and Beijing's increasing rhetoric probably rank as one of the most probable. And since at least the beginning of the year, President Xi has warned that reunification between Taiwan and the mainland is inevitable, and hinted that Beijing would not hesitate to attack any foreign power that tries to stop China. In response, China's President Tsai Ing-wen... President Tsai Ing-wen has insisted that the people of Taiwan would never tolerate rule by the Communist Party, and insisted that the island's military would fight. Well, China is not exactly behaving as we might have thought they would. But
I mean, look at all that we've done to piss China off. We've got the trade war. We've got the Taiwan Straits. We've got Taiwan itself. We've got the South China Sea. I think China has shown great restraint up to the present.
Yeah. And this list likely includes most of the major American defense contractors, particularly General Dynamics and Raytheon, being purchased by the Taiwanese government. Now, Mike,
okay, we got to take a break for commercials, and we will be right back.
Many people tell us about their experience with Extendivite. Just listen to what Glenn has to say.
Prior to taking it, I had diabetic neuropathy. The Extendivite reduced that significantly. Acid reflux was reduced. I had athlete's foot, very severe. Trimmed that down to about 75%. Dandruff, almost completely gone. I had occipital neuralgia at the base of my skull. I was having migraines, reduced by about 90%. Heart palpitations, my heart would kind of stall out. I would skip a beat. Very uncomfortable. And when walking from downstairs going to sleep, by the time I got to the bedroom, which is just one flight of stairs, my heart was pounding, coming out of my chest. My vision was blurry. This completely solved that problem. Great product. Thanks.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And Claire, what's your next story?
Well, apparently, our SOCOM chief is telling everyone that Russia, China, and Iran are primary obstacles to Venezuela regime change. And he also faults Iran for allowing direct flights from Tehran to Caracas. And he was testifying to the Senate Armed Services Committee this week. Our Southern Commander, Chief Admiral Craig Fowler, sought to blame a series of international rivals for the U.S. failure to impose regime change in Venezuela.
It's all their fault. It's those darn Ruskies and those chinks and those ragheads, you know.
And who are we, please? Who are we as a country to say that we can do this with absolute impunity and complete hubris?
Well, we've been doing it since the end of World War II, at least.
Yeah. And so Admiral Fowler singled out Russia, China, and Iran as the primary international obstacles to Washington's interests. And he added all three were blocking the U.S. attempts to isolate Venezuela globally. And he accused Russia of protecting their loyal friend, and he accused China of saddling the Venezuelan people with more than $60 billion in debt. Now, Admiral Fowler, I'm sorry. These statements you have made in your testimony sound and come across just like a sulking 2-year-old right after the mother of all temper tantrums. Now, I think somehow he needs a better answer than this for both U.S. citizens and the world.
Well, not really. If you understand the mindset of everybody in Washington, D.C., it's that Washington, D.C. has interests and that they have every right to go on out and secure those interests.
Yep.
And that it's wrong for anybody to get in our way. That's the attitude.
Yeah. And it was incredibly interesting, Mike, to read how Fowler characterizes Russia having put Venezuela in a debt load of $60 billion when the U.S.'s government's current deficit is running at about 22 to 23 trillion.
That's the debt, not the deficit.
Okay. I'm just saying, and Russia is financially capable of letting Venezuela ride and pay back this debt over time. So what have the Americans offered the Venezuelan people to make them feel that we're even believable?
Well, absolutely nothing, which is why, of course, Juan Guaido has flamed out. And, of course, it didn't help that they discovered that his associates were taking the so-called humanitarian funding and just sticking it in their pocket.
Yeah.
And he just never got any traction. So he's kind of off the board, more or less. And so the U.S. can be talking about regime change in Venezuela, but we don't know who it is they're going to try and put on in place of Maduro, because the Venezuelan people are not going to sit for Guaido.
Yeah, that's pretty much true. And this huge effort and all of the anti-government demonstrations have come to absolutely nothing.
No, and they weren't all that large. There was a lot of propaganda in the American corporate media, both about the size of the anti-Maduro demonstrations, the size of the pro-Guaido demonstrations, and the hunger in Venezuela. Forgetting, of course, that Venezuela is very much self-sufficient for much of its food supply. So while the economic situation relative to other countries may not be very good, the Venezuelan people are eating.
Well, that certainly has to be a thank heaven for them.
Yes.
Do you think, Mike, that President Trump will try some sort of military decap against Caracas?
That appears to be about the only option they've got left there, but talking about that admiral, it sounds to me like there's been some back-channel discussions from Russia, China, and Iran saying, don't do it.
Yes.
And they're probably saying, we'll just turn it into another Syria, we'll turn it into a war of attrition, and we'll grind you down just like we did in Afghanistan and Syria, not to mention Vietnam.
And I think there's something you've said about this whole situation, that the U.S. military seems to do better in desert than they do in jungle, and not in the major cities, but a lot of Venezuela is one heck of a lot of jungle in there.
Yeah, it is, and the U.S. doesn't do very well in jungle warfare. They never have. They didn't do well in Korea.
Nope.
They didn't do well in Vietnam. And if they go into Iran, a lot of people think of Iran as just more open desert in the Middle East, but it isn't. It's
No.
mountainous, and it's got lots of forests as well.
Yeah. In fact, people ski there, amazingly
Oh,
enough.
yeah, they
They've
got
a
ski slopes. They got
season,
all
yeah.
kinds of stuff there.
Yeah, right. And if any of you have not seen it, please look up the video, Don't Tell Mother I'm in Iran. It will surprise you and it will amaze you in terms of what we're told and in terms of what the reality is.
Okay.
I'd like to save this next section for the next segment, I believe. And we've also been hearing a lot of comments by Russia on Iran. I'd like to move back to that. That if Iran is attacked, she will not be alone. This came from a very high level military person.
Okay, we got to take another break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When your doctor tells you you have bad cholesterol or blockages in the arteries, what do? When diet and exercise is not enough, we try medications and hope for the best. For the last 2 decades, I have been telling people about a natural method to help solve these problems and more. Extendovite can help maintain cardiovascular health and lower blood lipid levels in adults. The 7 herbs in Extendovite are known to work together synergistically to get the results we hope for. There are many testimonials on Extendovite's effect on circulatory-related ailments. Get Extendovite today to start your journey back to a healthier life. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or see us on amazon.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
The reviews for Extendovite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendovite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendovite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendovite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves.
And excuse me, and aloha America, welcome back to our show here. And yeah, I got to think about how I'm going to introduce the show when we're in Indiana.
Yes.
You know, if we do wind up living in Santa Claus, I'm just going to say ho ho ho.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Very good.
All right,
yeah.
what's your next story?
This again was from Zero Hedge. Apparently, California parents are horrified at a new sex ed agenda in which the parents had absolutely no input. And this is about a small California community. Parents and clergy were so appalled at the explicit, inspired lessons, they went undercover to discover deeper. What they discovered...
Now, this is the LGBTQ agenda.
Yes. Apparently, in their county comprehensive health education meeting, so terrified them that they are determined to stop the curriculum. And our Watch president, Pastor Tim Thompson, said, we don't want our kids exposed to some of these things that are showing, things that are explicit and have absolutely no place in the classroom. And he said, it's not right, and it will not be tolerated. Now, he was referring to the Positive Prevention Plus, the text for sex ed classes. And another gentleman who is a parent of one of the schools in the Murrieta School District was
One of the
sick.
students.
Pardon?
One of the students.
Yeah. No, one of the parents. Okay. Was sick over the explicit material depicted in the educational materials. He said that if individuals did things like that, it would be perfectly, it would be ignored. But now the state can do that, and it's just not right. And Mike, that last sentence is a crystal clear summation of what's wrong with this program.
I mean, the issue of sex education in
Yeah.
the school has always been rather contentious.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Oh, dear. Poor baby.
But that was always, what we would consider to be conventional sex.
Yeah.
Man, woman, leading toward reproduction or at least fun.
Mhm.
And it's been getting a little bit more out there over the last few years. But this, I agree, it crosses a line.
Yeah.
Children at that age shouldn't be exposed to this kind of stuff. I mean, if they, of their own free will, decide to explore these issues when they get a little older,
Yeah.
that's something quite a bit different. But
Mhm.
to have this in the school at taxpayer expense,
And there's nothing the parents can do about getting it removed. That is the most terrifying thing to me.
yes,
And so Californians who can, please vote with your feet and move into a state which is infinitely more responsible about how, what, and when educators mention anything about this information. If you can't, learn to homeschool and teach your children in that way. And I listed a number of resources where people can click the link, and it's homeschooling related. And, I think that those people who feel strongly about that should let the California Board of Education know, I'm not allowing my kid to go through your propaganda, if you will.
indoctrination. here.
Indoctrination.
And again, it shows what's gone wrong with our educational system.
Yeah.
Because these kids are going into school, they're exposed to Common Core, they're exposed to LGBTQ sex education, they're indoctrinated with human caused global warming, and left behind are the basic skill sets necessary to find high paying jobs and compete in the global marketplace,
And they
like
become-
math,
Yeah.
science, engineering,
Yeah.
the arts, and so forth.
Yeah. And they come out of these, graduate from high school, innumerate, illiterate, and absolutely incapable of critical thought and thought processes.
And not even really sure which restroom to use.
Yeah, so I mean, guys, those in California who are dealing with this and don't want your kid exposed, there are ways. And I hope that the people who are interested in this actually do reach out to some of these resources. Now, here's another that I thought was interesting. There is in, I think, either Blacklisted News or Zero Hedge. I think it was Blacklisted News. Apparently, there is a charge against Jeff Epstein, that he was a sex blackmailer for the Mossad and CIA. Now, there is also, to add a little bit of credibility, there is a former CIA and military intelligence officer, Robert David Steele, who also believes that Epstein is linked to Mossad as part of an elaborate blackmail operation. Now, when Congresspeople go to Israel, they are generally set up in a situation that could only be called a honey trap, right?
Generally, yes.
Yeah. And this involves taking...
Or for some of them, they use a goat.
Yeah, oh, please. And, you know...
How was it? Not bad.
Oh, no. Please tell me that was your evil cousin, Raul Rivero. But seriously, the Mossad is neck deep in doing stuff like this. And apparently, according to Steele, Epstein's Lolita Island was just chock full of video recorders. So many politicians have been compromised. It was a Mossad CIA operation. And what you have here are videos of some of the most powerful players in the world assuming the most humiliating positions. Now, Mike, if this gets out, not only are the politicians ruined, but the extortion game is over, and suddenly the influence of CIA and Mossad wielded over Washington will be gone. Mike,
that's
what do you
another
think?
reason why they want this story to go away.
Oh,
if it comes on
absolutely.
out,
Yeah.
and all of these politicians, and some names are already being named,
Yeah.
The blackmail becomes less effective.
Right. Now, this explains Acosta's comment in Epstein's remarkably and probably unprecedented light sentence for violating children. And Epstein's controllers said that they were way above Acosta's pay grade, and there is little chance the full story on this black ops will ever see the light of day. And if it does, it's going to, like the Franklin sex scandal before it, put the media into a place of turning it into a conspiracy theory on par with Pizzagate, which ultimately fell apart at the seams, right?
Well, in terms of the Franklin scandal, they simply went to Discovery Channel and said, you will not play this documentary, or we will pass laws that will destroy your business.
Yep.
And so Discovery pulled the documentary. All the VHS copies that were going to be sold were purchased by a single unknown purchaser and destroyed.
Yeah.
The only reason we know anything about it at all are some newspaper clippings from those days,
Yep.
which show that this scandal reached all the way up to the White House itself.
Yep.
And thankfully, there was an editor's work tape that survived. And that's when you go over to YouTube and you look for the Franklin scandal.
Wow.
That's what you'll see. And I'm one of those people who grew up thinking that Boys Town was just this amazing place. What was that black and white movie about Boys Town? I think it was just called Boys Town.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, we grew up watching that, and what a swell place. And then you find out Boys Town was right in the middle of, shall we say, harvesting and grooming these young boys for these very sick people in power.
Yeah. And this ability to blackmail high representatives through illicit sex in order to gain their support for the plan to wage forever war and also advance the Zionist scheme for Greater Israel and dominate the Middle East. Now, I'm thinking, Mike, and I'd like your input on this. The cause Epstein may be one of the issues that causes a huge, and I mean huge, acceleration on the timetable for attacking Iran.
Could very well be, because a war with Iran is the only thing that is going to distract the public away from this scandal, and that's what Epstein and Bill Clinton and all the rest of these people, they want this to go away.
Oh, yeah.
And blowing up another country, small price to pay.
Yeah. So please remember that Epstein's next hearing is on this coming Monday, 15 July. If Epstein gets what he wants from the judge, he's going to find a way to vanish, and he's going to find a country with no extradition treaties with the United States. I am hoping and praying that in light of the testimony given by some of his young victims, that the judge will simply tell him that he stays in jail because he's a flight risk.
That would be the reason to keep him in jail. He is a flight risk. He's got the resources to go anywhere on the globe.
Oh, yeah.
Now, he did sell the Lolita Express, but he still has his Gulfstream.
Yeah.
And again, this Monday's hearings, they're not going to be hearing from the victims.
No.
It is simply a bail hearing.
Right.
And it will be very telling what happens. But I'm in agreement with you. If Epstein is allowed to walk out of that courtroom, he's going to disappear.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to now bop over to something that is very interesting to me. Apparently, U.S. tech giants are helping to build China's surveillance state.
Well, anything for a buck.
Yeah, I know. Now, this comes from The Intercept, which is, I have a great deal of respect
Yes.
for Greenwald and the other writers who contribute. They're very good on their facts. And so I wasn't a whole bunch surprised by looking at this, but a little. An American organization founded by tech giants Google and IBM is working with a company that is helping China's authoritarian government conduct mass surveillance against its citizens. The Intercept can reveal. The Open Power Foundation, which is a nonprofit led by Google and IBM executives with the aim of trying to drive innovation, at least that's the good reason, has set up a collaboration between IBM, a Chinese company called Semptium, and a U.S. chip manufacturer, Xilinx. Together, they've been working to advance a breed of microprocessors that enable computers to analyze vast amounts of data and much more efficiently. Apparently, the Shenzhen-based Semptium is using the devices to enhance the capabilities of internet surveillance and censoring technology it provides to human rights abusing security agencies in China, according to sources and documents. A company employee said that its technology is being used to covertly monitor the internet activity of 200 million people. Mike, I read that and my eyes glazed.
Yep.
200 million people? Can they actually
interesting
do that?
how they're implying that this is bad for China to do, even though the United States government is doing exactly the same thing to us.
I think, the irony you could cut with a knife. And apparently, Semptium, Google, and Xilinx did not respond to requests for comment. And what makes this so painfully ironic is that the Open Power Foundation said in a statement that it does not become involved or seek to be informed about individual business strategies, goals, or activities of its members due to antitrust and competition laws.
It's like Sergeant Schultz over on Hogan's Heroes. I know
nothing.
I know nothing.
An IBM spokesperson said that his company has not worked with Semptium or joint technology developer, but declined to answer further questions. A source familiar with Semptium's operations saying that Semptium had worked with IBM through a collaborative cloud platform called SuperVessel, which is maintained by an IBM research unit in China. Now, this is getting some people in Congress a little bit nervous, and Senator Mark Warner, Democrat Virginian, vice chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, told The Intercept that he was alarmed by these revelations. And he said it's disturbing to see that China has successfully recruited Western companies and researchers to assist them in their informational control efforts.
Well,
Warner said.
we got there first.
Yeah. And I mean, come on, this is only for public consumption here in the U.S. The U.S. government will continue to cast a blind eye to this once these companies have perfected what they want to do in China. Then they can do upgrades in U.S. surveillance that'll be precisely the same as the Chinese have, but probably maybe a little less expensive. And we also have another related story that I thought was worthy of talking about. Middle East dictators are buying spy tech from company linked to both IBM and Google. The source, again, is The Intercept. And they talk about the device they have. It's the size of a small suitcase and can be placed discreetly in the back of a car. When the device is powered up, it begins secretly monitoring hundreds of cell phones in the vicinity, recording people's private conversations, and vacuuming up their text messages. Now, this is one of several spy tools manufactured by Semptium, which has supplied the equipment to authoritarian governments in the Middle East and North Africa, according to two sources with knowledge of the company's operations. And as The Intercept reported on Thursday, since 2015, that's a bunch of years ago, folks, Semptium has been using American technology to help build the most powerful surveillance and censorship equipment which it sells to governments under the guise of a French company called INET. Semptian is collaborating with IBM and leading U.S. chip manufacturer Xilinx to advance a breed of microprocessors that enable computers to analyze vast amounts of information more quickly. The Chinese firm is a member of an American organization called, here we go again, the Open Power Foundation. You know, how completely ironic that title of Open Power, when what they're creating are tools for surveillance.
Yes.
You know, it just,
it's tools for repression.
Yeah. You don't know whether to laugh or cry. And, you know, I would sum this up by saying, folks, it's all about the Benjamins.
It's all about the Benjamins. It's all about governments that have become afraid of their own populations.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
And looking back over at the Middle East, in Turkey, they have had the delivery of Russia's S-400 hardware. It started. Now,
it's actually finished. All the units have been delivered.
Wow, okay. And the first batch of equipment, which is procured to meet Turkey's air and defense missile needs, has started to arrive at Murted Air Base in Ankara as of today's date, the ministry said on Twitter. The delivery of parts belonging to the system will continue to come in a few days.
Okay, I guess that other report I read was incorrect.
Oh, okay.
It
All
said
right.
basically everything had been delivered.
Not quite, but once the system is completely ready, it will begin being used in a way determined by the relevant authorities. Okay? Erdogan has never struck me as maybe the most stable marble in the Chinese checker games. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying here, but then there are very few stable marbles in global geopolitics right now.
I know.
Putin is the only calm and level-headed leader that's out there. Everybody else.
Yeah.
I'm in agreement with the UK ambassador.
Yeah.
Trump is inept, insecure, and incompetent. Okay, we got to take a break for commercials. Back with the last segment of our program after these few words.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield Tactical Bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms or you have a concealed weapon permit, and want a level of trading that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range. Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356 or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN @hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Last segment of our program today on this Pauhana Friday. And Claire, what is your next story?
This is a very difficult story to talk about because it appears that a U.S. scientist by the name of Suzanne Eaton was asphyxiated and dumped into old Nazi bunkers in Crete, Greece. Now, the resource for this is Russia Today. And so far, the Crete police have been able to establish it was not an accident. She was a scientist working for the very prestigious Max Planck Institute. She was asphyxiated and her body was dumped into a Nazi occupation-era cave bunker.
She's a microbiologist.
Yeah, microbiologist, and she disappeared while jogging. She'd been attending a conference at the Orthodox Academy in the northwest part of the island, but her body was discovered several days later by 2 locals, some 60 meters into a man-made cave that was used as a bunker by Nazi troops during World War II. Her relatives thought, oh, she must have had an accident, bad fall, or heat exhaustion. No way. The ongoing investigation, however, suggests that the scientist died of a result of a criminal act. And this is stated by State Coroner Antunis Paromakalips, and that's what he told AP on Wednesday. Eaton was actually asphyxiated by unknown assailants and sustained minor stab wounds, according to Greek police. Now, she was found face down and under a ventilation shaft, reportedly covered by a large wooden pallet, in an apparent attempt to conceal the murder. The position of the body also suggests she was dumped into the bunker. And
there must have been multiple assailants because she was a second-degree black belt Taekwondo.
Right. And the police are saying there is an ongoing homicide investigation being led by the police in Crete, which has taken comprehensive measures to ensure that the responsible party or parties will be brought to justice. Fat chance. Eaton's employer, the Max Planck Institute for Molecular Cell Biology and Genetics, based in Dresden, said in a statement that they were very sorry about how she died and that she died. And Mike, the question I have to go back to is, why was she assassinated? This wasn't random.
Well, the fact that she's a microbiologist may have something to do with it because over the last several years, there has been a string of suspicious deaths of microbiologists all over the world.
And I have to wonder what the heck she was working on that certain scientific people in the scientific world didn't want getting out. And I'd also like to talk to people who might be looking at going on a foreign vacation, that kind of thing. I would suggest don't go anywhere alone. Bring your friends, keep them close, and make sure you are proficient with every and any defense tools.
Yeah, but see, Crete is normally a very peaceful, nonviolent country. They got a very, very low crime rate there.
Yes.
So, in my opinion, this lady was definitely targeted.
Yeah. Oh,
and
absolutely.
Find out.
Yeah.
Okay, there's the music time for us to get on out of here. Stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please share what you learned with everybody that you know. Please donate to Republic Broadcasting. Please donate to WhatReallyHappened.com. We really need it. We'll be back on Monday. Aloha, America.
Take care.